Ladies and gentlemen, we are live today. It is the Metal Lab. It is post-World Edition. We are well rested, but still a little, worn out from the whole ordeal. I am joined this week, unfortunately not by Mr. Tom Kerr. He's got a lovely voice. As well, we are not joined by Jay, as he was running volunteer and didn't really get a chance to play much or see what was going on in the world. But I am joined by, based on the exchange rate, a full world champion, but on the real exchange rate, it's 1/3 of a world champion. Mr. Devin Owens, 1/3 of the Hero Clicks team world champions. How you doing, Devin?
Good. Glad to be on again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. We gotta get you on a little bit more often. Maybe we'll replace that Jay guy with that. So this past weekend was Worlds. It was at PAX Unplugged. It was both an ordeal and an exciting trip, to say the least. Heck of a convention. Very fast paced though, as far as the pacing for us as HeroClix players. It was a little. It wasn't what I would call a grind, but more of a rush, more of a sprint. So let's get. I guess we could get right into it. About as fast paced as they got into it. Team Worlds. Team Worlds was a thing. I myself was joined by Tom Kerr and the guy who drove me to Philadelphia, Mr. Stephen Ogden, along with his lovely wife Asia. As in they shared driving duty. But me, Tom, and Steve were a team. We were the contents of Team Story A this year. Devin, you picked up a group of players.
Yeah, I was the 7th Canadian to decide that I was going to Worlds, so I was the odd one out on the team creation process. Jay played Team Worlds last year with a guy from the New York, Rochester area named Joseph Pangrazio. So I played with him and a friend of his named Richard Leo, who I think is also from New York, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
That's cool. All right. So, we don't have to go into great detail about round by round because there's a lot. Both of us played a lot of rounds in this particular tournament.
We did.
Now, you're going to see a common story about the major Worlds events. They were all 4 rounds of Swiss, followed by a cut to top 16. That is, that's hard done by when it comes to, like, we talk about it on the Sunday, it's rough to hear about. When you talk about it on the Saturday Team Worlds, there's a little bit more leeway on Team Worlds.
Yeah.
My team didn't have much to worry about. We had a fantastic run in Swiss, but some teams were 7-5, which would put the borderline, and some teams were 8-4 as their whole record over the 4 rounds. So that would, I think it was 8-4 was pretty safe. And
yeah, 8-4 was 100% safe. Every 8-4 got in. No 7-5s got in.
Yeah.
My team was 5-5 going into the final round, so we had to
5-4. 5-4.
5-4.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, 5-4. Thank you. So we had to sweep our last round to make it into the cut, and we managed it. But it definitely was not a cakewalk through Swiss for us.
No. It did give you a little bit of leeway on like rounds that you won as a team. And it did give you that ability to completely get wiped out one round and still kind of fight your way back with one blemish on your record. So let's go through the rounds. First round, myself, Tom, and Steve definitely came out very positive. We managed to win. I managed to beat a Thanos Prime. I got some really lucky dice rolls.
We should probably say what we were playing.
Yeah, we should probably say what we were playing. So in our polls, if you were to actually look at mine, Tom, and Steve's polls, the culmination of the figures would not look impressive. We did have a super rare Thanos, which obviously made up one of our 3 teams, along with the Vision. Cool, awesome, perfect way to do that. So we had to make 2 other teams. We ended up with 3 other builds after the Thanos build. 1 police themed team, 1 Asgardian / Battleworld Asgard theme. I think it's Battleworld Asgard. But then we also had an Avengers themed team, which was Iron Man, the Spider Island Iron Man, Iron Goblin, and the common Captain America.
Oh, I didn't actually realize that was Avengers themed.
Yeah, I was shocked to discover that too. I was like, oh, it is Avengers themed.
You can build Avengers theme in this set? Huh.
Awesome. So it came down to Steve took the police team because he played in singles sealed and done fairly well with that theme team. So We were very comfortable with that. And then it became the debate of what I should play as the last team. Because it was between the Iron Men and Captain America and this Asgardian team. And to be brutally honest, I was personally more comfortable with this other team. Because this other Asgardian theme team, we had 2 Ultimate Thors in our pool. So Asgardian and Police were both going to have Ultimate Thor on it. When you hear about my record, you'll find out I made the right choice. I ended up going with the Avengers team mostly based on prob, but also based on the versatility of the Iron Goblin and the ignoring of stealth on the Iron Man. Those were keys to I think my build. And that Captain America is just such a slugger.
You didn't have any shifting focus options for him or anything, or did you?
What's that?
Did you have any shifting focus options for him?
Nope, it was just a common Captain America.
He's a great piece, but if you could switch to the defensive one, maybe a little better.
Oh, yeah, there was a couple games where I was like, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
So what was your build process like there, Devin?
Our build process was we opened our boosters and went, wow, we got the best possible pulls. This is incredible. So my team, after the build process, so we opened our boosters, and one of the things that we pulled was a Witch Queen Lefay.
Really, you?
Exactly. Yeah. So I won a WKO a couple of weeks before Worlds with a Witch Queen Lefay, and I was planning on playing Witch Queen Lefay in constructed singles at Worlds. So when we pulled that, I was going to play it. We also pulled a great prob to go with it, with a She-Hulk, who's just a very good piece who acts as both mastermind fodder and the necessary prob that you really need to play Witch Queen effectively. I had a Clara Prast on the team as well for some nice line of fire control, as well as just being very, very annoying with plasticity and barrier and all that other stuff. And then I also had a Molly Hayes, who is one of the best 25 points in the game. So that was a very, very good team. We also pulled a Thanos Prime and a Maestro, who both have Battle World Other. So it was a team of those two and Alex Wilder for a +2 perplex on Thanos Prime, along with crazy amounts of support powers from Alex Wilder and a Thanos Prime, who's obviously just an amazing piece in general.
So that's what happened to Steve.
Yeah, that is what happened to Steve. And then our last team was also amazing because we just, like I said, we just had ridiculous pulls. It was a Regent with a shifting focus Captain America, where we had both common and uncommon Captain Americas, as well as a Thanos duplicate, and do you remember what else? Oh, Sheriff Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the team was amazing. If you have the defensive Captain America and Sheriff Steve Rogers beside a Regent, how are you ever hit it? How is your opponent ever going to hit that? And like, he can shoot through walls, and you can block off more lines of fire with it, and it's just also a very, very good team. Also, in the pieces that we didn't play, we had an Iron Goblin and an Ultimate Thor. Like, I don't know. I think it's actually impossible to have pulled better than we did, unless maybe you swap one of the 3 things we played out for a Chase Black Panther. But, like, no, our pulls were amazing.
Yeah. And like, if you hear about our pulls and you're like, what did you do with this? I feel like when it comes to the top tier Chase super rare stuff, we didn't get a lot of that. Like, I think we pulled 2 super rares, one of which was Thanos, the other which was Doc Ock. He's not gonna break anything. But when it came
fitting on your teams.
Yeah, but when it came to the sub super rare stuff, I think we had the cream of the crop on that end. Like, we had the best non super rare stuff.
Yeah, Steven's team was like a Thoris and a She-Hulk and Ultimate Thor and something else, right?
And Sheriff Steve Rogers.
Oh, Sheriff Steve. Yeah, that's a very good team. Like, it doesn't have anything ultra high rarity, but Ultimate Thor being in the set just helps a lot with building teams with lower rarities. Because it's a very, very good piece for uncommon slot. Yeah.
So I didn't have exact details on how Steve and Tom did. I do know that all of our games were done before time. I was up against the Thanos Prime. Not an easy matchup, to say the least. But a lot of it came down to one major turn, and it was he sent Thanos duplicate to die. And my opponent's team was a Thanos Prime, Thanos duplicate, and Big Boss Hill. So
that's decent.
It's pretty good. He sent the Thanos duplicate to go die. That was his plan, so that he could get hypersonic with Big Boss Hill and just kind of reposition and get into a more forward position. Two things went very wrong for him. First of all, he was attacking the Captain America, so he's up against a 20 defense. His attack isn't going to be fantastic, and he obviously didn't land the hit in this case. But then he rolled a 1 on his breakaway roll, so he was stuck where he was. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is on my turn, I rolled a 5 with the Iron Goblin, giving me outwit and +1 to my stats. So I chose close combat expert with the Captain America, outwitted the Invincible, did 4 damage to Big Boss Hill,
and that's your only way to get outwit, right?
Yeah, that's the only way my team gets outwit. Oh, sorry.
Well, you can push the Spider Island Iron Man onto
or
it.
he takes 2 damage, 1 or 2 damage, and he's still got outwit. But everybody dealt 3 or more damage to it, even with the Invincible. But yeah, so I followed up with the Hypersonic to finish off Big Boss Hill, which left just Thanos Prime, who would then not only miss, but prob into a critical miss on an attack against Steve Rogers.
Oh, no.
And then I was able to capitalize with because even though Thanos has stealth, he was in hindering terrain. I had ignore hindering with the Iron Man, Spider-Man Iron Man, and I was able to shoot at him and then eventually just make my way up forward with some close combat attacks and then just whittle down the Thanos Prime, who would just not hit. I mean, like, I think maybe connected with 1 big hit on my Iron Spider-Man, but by then I was able to get in, and I just had range combat expert from there, so it was just a matter of just doing the damage. So how'd your first round go?
So I was the only one who won my game in the first round. The people that we were facing was your eventual top 8 opponents, I believe. So they obviously had good teams and played very well. The guy that I was facing in particular had like a Bushmaster, a Viv Vision, a Thanos duplicate, and I think an Alex Wilder as well, but I'm not 100% sure. I feel like that's not enough points. I may be misremembering something on his team. But anyway, it basically was he had a Captain America, actually. That's what else he had. He had a shifting focus Captain America with both the common and uncommon options.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but he decided that when facing a Witch Queen, he really just needed to get the prob off of She-Hulk as quickly as possible, which is a reasonable decision. So he just running shotted with his Captain America and hypersonicked with his Bushmaster all the way forward to hit my She-Hulk for 4 damage, which wouldn't quite have knocked her off anyway, but I rolled my Impervious. And then the next turn, I just killed both Bushmaster and Captain America with She-Hulk and Witch Queen, and from there it was really hard for him to do anything. Single target pulse waved Viv to death, and Molly managed to the piece that I lost that game was Molly with a crit miss on the last attack on a last click Thanos duplicate.
Oh darn.
So, Molly died, but that game wasn't too hard. His team was the collection of leftover pieces that a lot of people seem to stick at their C slot. My team pulled well enough that we didn't have a collection of random leftover pieces.
Yeah.
So my team was still very good, but also you didn't really need to stick that in your C slot if you didn't want to.
Well, that's the thing.
But a lot of teams did anyway.
Like that's I feel like that's almost a little bit of a giveaway. The C slot does not have to be your bad team.
Yeah.
In fact, if anything, it should be your best team. That's what we did with ours. We put Tom.
Yeah, because if most of your opponents are putting their worst team there, then you're guaranteed a win. If you put maybe not your absolute best, but at least a good team there. So.
Yeah, but it's always the conversation we have. It's like, does it matter? It doesn't, because
you can't predict what your opponents are going to do.
If everybody's going to think about it, then that's going to happen, and it's okay, cool. But when it starts to become a trend, people are putting the Garbo in the sea. Guys, stop putting the Garbo in the sea. And you know, we personally call it the Garbo, or at least our team called it the Garbo guy, and I'm the Garbo guy usually, or at least last to build, but. I don't think any of our teams could be listed as the Garbo because we had so much synergy in our stuff.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Battle World. When you have 6 boosters, it's very hard to not pull enough stuff to make some synergistic teams, even if you don't pull really high rarity.
Yeah.
With only 2 boosters in a sealed, you can get some really bad teams, but with 6, it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah. And what's more is Avengers Defenders, where I remember that Team Worlds, I think we had 5 figures in the leftover bin. So it's not a lot left over. Secret Wars Battle World, I bring what I call the draft chaff bin, where I just throw everything from leftovers and battle royales that nobody wants in it. And that was half full by the time we were done building our teams, because Secret Wars has a more median level point value. So
yeah, our team saw the same thing.
Yeah.
I think all of our teams were 3 or 4 figures.
Yeah.
Nothing higher than that. Yeah, and my teammates in the first round, I don't know exactly how their games went, but I know that Joe's game was a Thanos Prime versus a Super Thanos, which he didn't roll well enough to win.
Yeah.
that can go either way, but it depends who's hitting. And I actually have no idea how Richard's game went in the first round, but I know that his regent did die.
Yeah. I mean, it was good to know that all my guys were done before the round was over, so that was kind of a positive thing.
Rather than standing there and waiting desperately for last action to get called to do that.
What's going on over there? Second round, I was that guy. Second round, we were up against. I apologize to my opponent. He played one hell of an awesome positioning game. We basically played chess against each other, and it was a game of chess that was so defensive and careful. Neither of us gave up anything. Literally, it was a 0-0 draw. And this is the type of game that is hard to watch. If you were watching this on the stream, you'd be pissed. You'd be so angry that you had to watch that. Me and him were like, that was the best game ever.
Was it one of those 0-0 games where both people stand in their starting area and do nothing for the entire game?
Yeah, we were jockeying for position. We're trying to get that right, like, I'm going to move out and do this. If he doesn't move that, he moved it. What the hell, man? And
Did you make any attacks?
I made a few attacks. I was actually more towards the end, just before time was getting called, and I'd made a couple attacks. He'd missed a couple attacks. I'd hit a couple of attacks, and it was starting to look a little, uh-oh. And then time was called. I was like, we didn't kill anything. And we were like, good game, roll off. And Ed came around the corner. He's like, so how'd you do? He's like, it was a roll off. He's like, did you do the roll off already? He's like, yeah, you already won. It's like, why are you telling me? But I mean, this is one of those situations. It's hard to watch, hard to witness. But neither of us slow played. We all had very intelligent turns. We all saw what was going on, and both of us left carrots for the other guy. Like we put things out. It's like, go ahead, attack that. And I was planning on like the double having a double token Iron Man get attacked, but that's going to be against a 20 defense
20,
and hindering, so it's a 21. It's like, okay, you're not hitting that, right? And then he would take a Hail Mary, but he'd leave it just outside, but then in a dangerous place where if I was to kill his Alex Wilder, it would it would leave me in a position where I would die, because he had a team where if I attacked something and exposed myself from that attack, I wasn't just getting attacked once, I was dying.
He was putting out a lot of damage in one turn.
Absolutely. So it was one heck of a game. I won the roll-off, but I feel like it was both of us were too smart for this game. And either that or too dumb or not risky enough. And so it really came down to positioning against each other, and both of us positioned too well and ended up getting a 0-0 draw, and we both had a ton of fun with it. So how was your second round there, Devin?
My second round was the reverse of my first. Both of my teammates won and I lost. I got put up against another guy who had a Witch Queen Lefay, so mirror match, which is always interesting. He had a Viv and an Archon with his Witch Queen Lefay. He played this game really well. I ran out and I single target pulse waved his Viv and one-shot it. And then I ran up and I energy explosioned and I got his Witch Queen off of her first 2 clicks and dealt 1 damage to his Archon. This is where I made a slight mistake in that I forgot about She-Hulk's Force Blast and didn't knock his Archon back 1. Which, because of Archon's trait that says you can place him in an adjacent square.
Oh.
If I'd knocked him.
Kind of lagged out there. All right, so your internet seems to be going a little wacky there on us, Devin. Hopefully it comes back to life. Or it might be my computer that's doing a weird reload. I think that might
Yeah,
have been
you
at my
just
end.
went black and came
All
back
right,
there.
cool. So hopefully that all got out properly. Because I missed
All
all of
right.
that.
Okay, I'll just go back like a little bit and say I energy explosioned, hit his Witch Queen and his Archon, forgot about using She-Hulk's Force Blast to knock Archon back, which would have allowed me to place him into hindering on the next turn so that he couldn't running shot effectively.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that. So on his turn, I moved him back one, but he could still running shot up and shoot my She-Hulk. Archon on his second click is terrifying. He's like 12 and 4 or something ridiculous, and he deals 1 penetrating damage to everybody else adjacent. Very, very strong. So he ran up, shot my She-Hulk, dealt 4 penetrating damage, dealt 1 to my Witch Queen, and his Witch Queen finished off my She-Hulk. The next turn, I perplexed at my attack. I went out there, I hypersonic to kill Archon, needing a 5, and I missed it.
No.
So my Witch Queen lost all of her movement powers. I moved my Molly and my Clara up, did some the free blocking terrain with Clara to block off his Witch Queen from being able to make an attack. On his turn, his Archon ran out and hit, tried to hit my Molly but missed. I killed his Archon on the next turn. And then I sidestepped Molly next to my Witch Queen. The problem was that that Witch Queen has 2 targets, and his Witch Queen was on her sidestep Psychic Blast click. So she just sidestepped out, perplexed up attack, double targeted so I couldn't mastermind, hit my Witch Queen onto her last Psychic Blast click, and knocked me back 3 by rolling doubles. The next turn, I sidestepped up, I perplexed up my range. I had 2 chances to hit a 7 to win the game, basically. Missed them both. And then from there, my Witch Queen died, and so did Clara and Molly, and the game was over. But it was a really close game. He played it really well, and I just missed a couple of crucial attacks that would have allowed me to win it.
Yeah. Okay, so we go into the third round. This is the first round where one of my teammates got a loss. But we still ended up going 2-1 on the round. What was I up against? And the third round was a little smoky for me here. I remember Iron Goblin playing a big part in my third round now that I think about it. Jesus,
it's a lot of hero clicks to remember over 2 days.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yep, and I'm going to apologize to my opponent now because I'm a terrible person. Oh! No, I might be I'm thinking the fourth round. But the third round, it was, okay, yes, this is the first game I actually won map roll with my +3. It was up against a Maestro, a Big Boss Hill, and what was it? A Clara Prast.
So you went to the underground.
No, actually, I only brought High Noon Saloon.
That's the only map you brought.
That's the only map I brought. It was to take advantage of the elevated terrain when I needed to, and to just generally be able to move around very smoothly. And in this round, so at first I killed Clara Prast, knowing full well I was going to get attacked back. He perplexed up the movement on his Maestro and hit my Iron Man, the Spider-Man Iron Man. But this would double token the Big Boss Hill, who came in for an attack as well, which would kill my Iron Man Spider-Man. All right, I got to deal with this now. Iron Goblin would not stop rolling a 5 or 6 after this. Every round had +1 to his stats and outwit. And I followed this up. What I did was I was able to outwit the defense on Big Boss Hill, attack with the Captain America, and then follow up with hypersonic from Iron Goblin, killed the Big Boss Hill. So it's just now a Maestro staring at my Captain America, but Captain America's got a 20 defense in close combat. So he ended up missing a lot of his attacks against Captain America, and because I was able to consistently roll 5 and 6 on the Iron Goblin, and like this is the reverse Jason dice. The reverse of Jason dice happened to me on this one. I was able to consistently outwit the defense power and just slowly pick my way through the Maestro's defense and came out a winner on that one. I think it was Tom took the loss on this one because now Tom was up against a team that had an Outrider, And the Outrider was always able to either roll a super senses or a shape change, according to Tom. So as a result, Tom couldn't prob away problematic dice rolls and would have to slowly take the damage on both of his characters.
What does Outrider do again?
Outrider says you can't use prob or outwit except on Outrider if it's adjacent to you. Right? I think prob, outwit, perplex can only target Outrider if it's adjacent to a character using that. And that was the thing. He had it adjacent to both Vivision and Thanos.
That's a lot of probs that you can't use.
That's a lot of probs you can only use on the Outrider. So he ended up taking a loss on that one. And Steve ended up taking a win on his round. I didn't catch a lot of the details on it myself. So I really felt sorry. These guys' team name was the Tequila Mockingbirds. Really clever name. And I felt really bad for my opponent's dice rolls against me on that one because he was rolling some really tough rolls. He was up against Steve Rogers' 20 defense, right? So that's not great. And he had, like, when he got those late dials, like, he's taking the free attack, he's taking attacks, he can't get the steal energy to get his health back up. It was just a rough go for him. So we go into third with you, sir.
Yeah, I was in third round. I was facing a guy who had a Spider Captain Marvel, a Spider Iron Man, and 2 Thoruses. It's a pretty decent team, but we were on amok time, and there was no way for him to get across the map quickly enough that things didn't just die to Witch Queen a lot before he got there. So I just moved up a little bit. I hypersonicked out, and I killed one of the Thoruses. I hypersonicked out, and I killed the other Thorus. He realized that he couldn't stay back, and he moved all the way across the map, double tokening his Iron Man to do it, which is fine, obviously, because Iron Man gets extra defense when he's double tokened. And moving his Captain Marvel charges in on my Molly Hayes and misses the 7, I think, since I think she was 11. I don't remember exactly that she needed to hit, and I pulse waved her with Witch Queen and shot her a bit and punched her with Molly, and Molly died eventually. The last action of the game was Spider Iron Man on his second last click, and my Clara Prast beside him on her last click, which, of course, if I end my turn, she gets poisoned to death. So I just used the Pulse Wave and rolled an 8 and killed him. So.
Clara Prast, Pulse Wave for the win!
Yeah. Pushed her to death, but so he scored 65 points, and I ended up scoring his team. And then my teammates, Richard, Leo with the Regent, won his game, and the Prime Thanos, played by Joe, lost his. I'm not sure what he was facing, but I know that he did not win. It might have been another Super Rare Thanos, actually.
Yeah, those are the tough rounds, like the tough games in each round, let me tell you. And a lot of them found their ways to the B's and C's.
Yeah, he was B, and he faced a couple of them.
My last round of the tournament was up against a player. I've seen him play before. I'm familiar with him. I believe his name is Matt Devine. His team was 2 Thoruses. I believe it was an Iron Spider, and can't remember the other thing. Every hit he made hurt. Every hit he made hurt a lot. And this one was another. This was a very heavy dice game. One of the big factors in our game, in my game against him, he hit a lot of 8s early on and put me on some pretty low clicks on a lot of my dudes. I think I lost Captain America in this game. And actually, I think I lost Iron Man as well. But then late game Gobbo 5 and 6s came to the rescue. Let me tell you, because once again, that when it comes in good. I also had some pretty effective uses of the +2 attack and Battle Fury clicks, and ended up getting some steal energy off of those with the late, because if you go into late dial, he gets like 11 and 12 attack towards the end of his dial.
Nice.
And if you get
so
that
you get like 14 attack.
Yeah, there's like 13, 14 attack with Battle Fury. Like, okay, I'm gonna steal some energy.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. But yeah, some really well-timed dice rolls on my part. And then his dice went from super hot, like he was rolling 8s and higher on a regular basis, to like just started to really simmer down and stopped hitting me as heavy as he did. And I ended up being able to take out his big things, and then like this fight was not over when everything but the Thauruses were left. Let me tell you, there was still stuff to go, and those two Thauruses,
they don't have terrible stats.
they do not have bad stats, and they don't die easy. They do have toughness, and if you're not doing
clicks with toughness, not really easy to kill.
You need to deal 5 damage to them, so. It was still scary going towards the end, but once I was able to get off of enhancement, the damage started to become less, and I started to be able to survive some things, and eventually I was able to get some momentum going my way. So I think towards the late game, I started getting more consistent perplex prob on the Iron Goblin, which is super important. Let me tell you. Yeah. So I think in that round as well, Tom had won. Steve took a loss, so we ended at the end of the 4th round of Swiss at 10-2 on the Swiss. I'm assuming you did pretty well in your last round.
Yeah. So we were 5-4 going into the last round. We needed to win every game to get in, and we did manage that. I was playing against a guy who had a Dino Thor, an Ultimate Thor, and a Boar Thor. It's obviously a theme team. It obviously had lots of theme probs. I am terrified of a hypersonic piece and an outwit piece on the same team because I'm playing Witch Queen, and I'm especially terrified of it when my opponent wins map roll so they can pick something where there's not a lot of stuff to hide behind, which is what he did. So he runs across the map up to the middle. It was the map with the large strip of elevated going down the middle and like the cars in the bottom. I can't remember the name of it.
That's a parking lot map, isn't it?
Is that the name? It might be.
I think, is it one of the vinyl maps? The high quality?
No. Okay. It was paper. It's from. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But it's a thing with a giant strip of elevated down the middle. He runs up to the elevated, and my swing just isn't quite good enough to go attack him that turn, really. So I have to stay back. He decides to double token and push to run across the map and outwit my mastermind and hit me with a Dino Thor, which he does for. I think it's 4 damage printed on Dino Thor, right?
3.
Or is it 3?
3 or 4.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it gets me off my top clicks and onto the lower clicks on Witch Queen, which obviously is not an ideal start to a game. And he runs his Boar Thor up as well, but down and near my Molly and my Clara. The next turn, my Molly sidesteps, hits his Boar Thor with a heavy object for 6 damage. Taking him down 4 clicks. Clara shoots 9 on a 16 to kill him. So my 65 points of tiny little runaways murder a Boar Thor in 1 turn. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's a lot. He has really good stats. And Witch Queen punches his Dino Thor, gets him down 3 clicks, and I think She-Hulk missed, but I'm not 100% sure. The next turn, his Ultimate Thor and his Dino Thor just kill my She-Hulk very easily. Witch Queen hits Dino Thor onto his regen click. Molly sidesteps up, finishes him off. So that's basically 2 kills racked up for Molly at this point in the game. His Ultimate Thor kills my Clara. We do some sidestepping. Witch Queen shoots down at him while he's in the middle of killing Clara, and Molly chucks a heavy object at him to take him down off of his outwit clicks, which was very important because I had Impervious on Witch Queen and did not want to be getting outwitted. So I get down onto the same elevation as him with Molly and Witch Queen. He punches Molly, needing an 8. He misses. Witch Queen goes to shoot him for 3, crit misses, getting down onto her Pulse Wave Energy Shield clicks. Molly hits again with a heavy object and crits and kills him in 1 hit. And that was the end of the game. Molly was an absolute hero that game. That round was the story of Molly. It was insane. My opponent had definitely quite a bit of bad luck there. He picked absolutely the correct strategy, which was running across and taking Witch Queen off of those upper clicks, because if you don't, you're in a lot of trouble. He just got a little bit unlucky with dice for the rest of the game, both my dice being really, really strong and his dice not being quite as strong. Mm-hmm. And both of my teammates also won their games. that my game went pretty close to time, so I didn't see a lot of their games that round. But I know that the Regent was up against Super Rare Thanos and was on the underground and was just sort of shooting through walls to take him down eventually.
All right. So yeah, we go into the top 16. Our team, Team Sorie, is seeded number 1. So first round, I take my first loss. First round of single elimination, I take my first loss up against the Thanos. And oddly enough, guess when I started rolling some more 5s and 6s with the Iron Goblin. Like,
but you didn't need 5s and 6s this time?
I mean, I couldn't use them.
Yeah.
So I did what I could. I got him down a couple clicks, but honestly, nothing that really mattered. And this is the Thanos round. When I have 2 guys with Battle World keyword and only one who doesn't have a Battle World keyword in my Captain America, what can I do, right? So yeah. I did my best. I made the rolls. The rolls didn't hit. You know, Wayne Gretzky, as they say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't make. So.
Yep. I rolled a bunch of attacks that needed 10s that tournament.
This is the round I turned to Tom and Steve. It was like, about time you guys start pulling your weight. It was the ongoing joke. That was the first loss I'd taken, the only loss I'd taken. Spoiler alert, the entire tournament.
Yeah, we joked around with Joe, who was playing our Thanos Prime a bit, that we were carrying him because he had like 1 more loss than the rest of us. But obviously that wasn't actually true. If he didn't win the games he won, then we wouldn't have won the tournaments.
Well, of course, I do it in jest with Tom because Tom is top 2 Rock World Cup winner of the Rock Canada Cup. Like, come on, Tom. Creator of a team that made it across the meta. It's gotta give him a hard time,
that,
right?
Like 9 people were playing at least. Probably minimum, more than that.
Well, I mean, 5, if you include the 5 from Italy.
Yeah. Actually, one of the Italians wasn't playing it. My singles world opponent was playing a Sam Cap team.
Fair enough. Yeah, so we made it past the round of 16. Hey, I mean, Devin did too, because, you know, spoiler, I praised him at the beginning of this thing. But how was your first round of the 16?
Yeah, so we were facing... I was facing a guy who was playing a She-Hulk. He had a Thorus on the team and an Ultimate Thor. And I think that's all the point? No. That sounds like 2 little points. He must have had something else. Oh, a Borthor. There we go. Yep, there was a Borthor on there too. So it was a police-themed team. It was pretty good. He wins map roll because he has +4, and I don't. He picks the... Jotunheim map from the Mighty Thor with the extended knockback. Yeah. Maybe not the greatest map choice against a Witch Queen and a She-Hulk, who both have passive Force Blast. I run up, I single target Pulse Wave his Borthor. It doesn't quite kill it, but I deal damage. I sidestep away. I'm up on the elevated. None of his other pieces really have swing, and none of them were close enough anyway to have any chance of getting to me in time. So I was fairly safe up there. He just runs away with his Borthor, which is reasonable because he was like 2nd last click at that point or something. So if he stays, definitely dies. We do a little bit of positioning around. I end up perplexing up damage on Witch Queen and running shot single target pulse waving his She-Hulk with knockback to knock her into a wall to one-shot her, which was unfortunate for him. And then he moves up with his Ultimate Thor. My Molly goes and kills his Borthor by throwing an object, and I slowly whittle down his Ultimate Thor over a couple of turns, and eventually finish him off with a single target pulse wave from Witch Queen as well. Both of my teammates won as well, so we 3-0'd our first round of Top Cut and made it pretty easily into the top 8 there. I assume that my teammates' games weren't ultra easy either. Mine definitely was not super easy. My opponent just had the bad luck of having a team that didn't really have a chance of catching up to my team, because Witch Queen is so ridiculously mobile and his only running shot was on his She-Hulk that I could just easily block lines of fire from because he couldn't come from multiple angles at once. It didn't work for him.
All right. Yeah, so we moved out to the 8. I was happy to be in top 16. Because the prizing you get from top 16 is the stuff I was planning on buying later on anyway. So.
Yeah, the prizing for this tournament was really good.
I mean, again, it's really good if you're in the top 32.
Yes.
Because there are 64 teams. That's something we didn't mention. It was 62 to 64 teams in this event. That's like triple that. It's like between 180, was it 183 or 192? Like in between that. That's a lot of players playing HeroClix, man. So.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Top 8. What's that?
It felt big. The whole place was crowded. It felt like they were using tables that they didn't necessarily think they would need to. Like, felt like a lot of people showed up for that.
Mm-hmm. Top 8 was probably one of the scariest wins I've ever had in my life. I was up against, it was the Uncommon Spider-Man, a Chase Iron Fist. First Chase I've actually had a chance to, I had the misfortune playing against in my
Yeah, I don't think I played against any.
Yeah. A common Iron Man, and there's 4 figures on the team. I remember that. Did I already describe 4 figures? I can't remember. Oh, and a Captain America. Captain America.
There we go.
Yeah.
I didn't think you had.
With the common and the like everybody had 2 Captain Americas
except you.
What the hell?
That uncommon Captain America is really valuable too.
So good. So good in the early game. So this one was a little bit of a positioning, get myself ready for his first turn or first attack. He was going to get it. Like that was the thing I had to expect because he had the TK with the Iron Man and he had the Chase Iron Fist. He put us in the WizKids office. It was really hard for me to get the first strike in this game without giving up 2 actions in order to just break a wall, right? So I braced myself for it and got incredibly lucky with a combination of his misses and my theme props. Because
Chase Iron Fist isn't exactly a slouch in the attack department, so
she's got a 12 attack. So I breathed a sigh of relief. She doesn't do as much damage as I'd feared. Follow up with a 5 or 6, or no, this was a 3 or 4 on the Iron Goblin. The first couple turns of this game, Iron Goblin was sitting on Battle Fury. He was telling me something. I'm not going to start this game. It's like, I get it. Okay, cool. Let him start the game. All right, I understand. Yeah, so I have to deal with that. But I did get a prob perplex roll at a really opportune time. Was able to pull off a close combat expert with my Captain America. Able to kill his Captain America and Iron Fist, but ended up losing my Iron Fist and Captain America as a result, leaving my Iron Goblin in a very precarious position. My Iron Goblin took this particular precarious position. I needed to back up, basically, is the long term of what I had. I needed to back off and just get a little bit of breathing room away from his Spider-Man, because the perplex and the stats on him were starting to pick up on me. And if when I took the second to take it back and take a breather, he did the smart thing and went back to his end because he had a point lead. He had 135 points left on the board. I had 100. Smartest thing he could have done was just walk away from me. I wasn't going to finish the game this way, but he took the chance to take the breathing room. And later on, he said, that's not normally how I play. I was like, but it was the smart play. Don't feel bad about making the smart play.
Yeah, especially in an event that big. Yeah. Never feel bad about playing well. Like, if you're playing in a random weekly casual tournament and you're running away to keep a point lead, sure, maybe apologize then. Yeah. But, like, at Worlds? No.
No. In single elimination?
Yeah.
Whatever, man. You do you, dude.
Do whatever you need to.
Yeah. So my goal here was to move up, look for a good dice roll on the Iron Goblin, get a chance to get an attack in on. Unfortunately, when I did get a good attack roll to go try to take out his Iron Man, the dice gods said no. Okay. All right, cool. But the Iron Man was action. So the beauty of this is, even though he went to the back corner, he didn't take slow turns. Neither of us took slow turns. We actually had like 6 or 7 turns in a row, which were just boom, 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 boom. I was rolling my Iron Goblin, trying to figure out what stats I was going to get. And if it was a Battle Fury, I was just going to pass a turn. If it was a Perplex Probability Control, I was going to move up my defense. If it was a +1, I was also going to do the same thing anyway. And then he was just holding back, perplexing up defenses as he required. I got up there and eventually attempted to make an attack on the Iron Man and missed. So it looked like, but the Iron Man was tokened and he didn't, smartly didn't want to overtax the Iron Man in an attempt to counterattack me, because if that went wrong, he was in a bad position. Instead, he took the Spider-Man and outwitted my hypersonic. Smart move. Now I don't have any kind of advantage. I have to shoot at the Spider-Man if I want something good to happen. Or I can roll a 5 or 6 and outwit his outwit and hypersonic anyway.
And that's what happened?
That's what happened. But I had to do this one defensively and back off. But he was going to take the chase this time. And went forward with his Iron Man. I'm double tokened. I know I've got to kind of sit this one out. He gets the Iron Man in there, makes an attack at range, and does not connect with the hit. Thank goodness for me. But after following up with the attack, he bases me. Sorry, he did hit, but he didn't kill, and he gets me on that 8 movement, 12 attack, 17 defense with toughness click. So he can't finish me, and this is where I get the Battle Fury. With Blade's Claws. Now he's got Battle Fury, Blade's Claws, +2 attack, and exploit weakness. I roll a 4 on the Blaze. Dead. I've also at this point managed to get some damage off on the Spider-Man, who's no longer got outwit. He's sidestep and close combat, combat reflexes and close combat expert. Tries to get in there, but can't get an attacking because I outwit sidestep. And then he perplexes down my attack. I get a +1, outwit, go for the win. It was a great game. And like I said, my opponent played it incredibly intelligently by backing off when I backed off to secure the point lead. Can't argue with that on that one. But I did what I planned. Took my time, waited for the right gobbo roll. And because he didn't, he could have run the clock on me and won. Luckily, Steve and Tom also had won, so if I had lost that game, you should have seen the look on Steve's face when he finished and he ended up beating a Spider Queen.
And that's hard.
The dice rolled. He went like this, and I turned and was like, "Welcome to the top 4." And before even asking how he did, "Oh, how did you do?" So, that was we were in the top 4. How was your top 8?
Yeah, this was probably my favorite game of the day. My opponent, Mike, I don't know his last name, but he was playing with Dustin Cedars as well. Said it was his favorite game of the day as well. He had 2 lower point Ultimate Thors with a Dino Thor. Interesting team. Mm-hmm. And so he moves up he picks King Arthur's Castle. I move my pieces up. He moves his pieces up. I clear. We both took a turn to clear. He moves his Dino Thor. Poofs both of his Ultimate Thors next to them. Charges in. Deals a little bit of damage. I think he missed with one of the attacks and hit with the other. And knocks my my She-Hulk down 2 clicks. No, he hit with both, actually, because I killed my Clara with Mastermind to avoid having to take the damage on She-Hulk for the first one. And then the next turn, I hit his Ultimate Thor with She-Hulk, and then I flurry it with Witch Queen as well. And I get him down to his last click. He hypersonics in with his Dino Thor, and he hits my Molly and kills her. I think he was actually double tokened on both Ultimate Thors. I can't remember why, but I think he was, because I think he had to take a turn to clear here. I flurry on first attack on the Ultimate Thor that I had already dealt damage to, and second attack on the other one. I get that Ultimate Thor basically dead, and then I'm pretty sure I killed him that turn, I'm pretty sure, because I don't think I had any more turns after that before strange things started happening. No, I did not kill him that turn. I killed him the next turn. On his turn, his Ultimate Thor punches my Witch Queen. I could have masterminded it to my She-Hulk, but I had already missed an attack on the previous turn, so I didn't have my movement powers anymore. So if I mastermind it to my She-Hulk, then my She-Hulk gets off of her running shot and prob and goes down some really low clicks, whereas I have sidestep Psychic Blast if I get hit, so it just wasn't the worst thing in the world. So I took the damage with Witch Queen, but his Dino Thor then just finishes her off. Not that turn, but the turn after. On my turn, I finish off Ultimate Thor, and His turn, he finishes off Witch Queen. My turn, I get Ultimate Thor down to his regen shape change click. His turn, he runs away because he's up on points. I only have my She-Hulk left on her second click. He has his Dino Thor on his last click. So he runs away. I follow him with She-Hulk, but can't make an attack. He has to clear. And then eventually I managed to make an attack while he was still on the regen click because he like moved again to try to get out of my range, but just couldn't quite manage it, but was in like a slightly more advantageous position. But he rolls shape change and I don't hit. He regens up 2 clicks. So for the rest of the game, he knows that if I hit his Dino Thor with my Force Blast as well, I will knock him into a wall because there's pretty much nowhere on the map that you can go that prevents that and finish him. But also I need a 10. So there is some very complicated but not slow positioning where he tries to make sure that I can't get too close to him and have to spend a couple of turns catching up, so he's never double tokened when I get to him or anything. And I just make Hail Mary attacks because I have no other choice. Because he has phasing teleport, so I can't move next to him and try to lock him down. It can't work. So I just have to keep using energy explosion and hoping that eventually I hit. It comes down to me standing on top of the castle with no action tokens, and him being in one of the hindering patches outside of the castle with 2 action tokens. So I running shot energy explosion down from the roof, miss again because again I needed 10s, wasn't very likely, and eventually on his turn he has 2 evidence tokens at this point, so he makes a free attack. He rolls a 5, he misses. I prob it into a hit. He hits my She-Hulk. She crit missed, so she's on her last running shot energy explosion click at this point. Turns me to my charge click. I charge him, needing only a 7, hit him and win. It was a very, very fun game. We both really enjoyed it, and it was a cool move that finished it off as well. So I enjoyed that one thoroughly. I'm pretty sure that both of my teammates won their games again this time. I'm not 100% confident on that, but I think they did. So I don't think it actually mattered whether I won that one or not, but it was still just a very fun game.
It's all good.
And then...
our stories both conversion diverge.
They do.
As we met your team in the top 4. I was
the
up
4
against...
Canadian...
Yeah,
among 2 teams, top 4.
And now your A player was Richard?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was up against Richard, and you were up against Tom.
Yes.
And as Devin described, what the hell was that team that I had to deal with? I had to get creative with my ranges on this one because there's a lot going on. So basically you have this defensive bubble with Regent being the thing that's being defended. But he sits atop a throne of Sheriff Steve Rogers, a stealthy Red Wolf, who else? A Thanos duplicate, and a Captain America with, of course, the uncommon version on the sideline, and a common and uncommon version basically available to him. And of course, Regent is able to battle world my stats down to oblivion when he feels like it.
Or just up his defense to have a 20 defense that you can't modify your attack against.
Yeah. So I had to get very creative with my attack pattern. I rolled at one point a perplex prob with Iron Goblin, repositioned so that I could prob and attack, and attacked the Red Wolf with my Iron Spider-Man. Had to attack him twice with him, but I was able to keep the range too far. Like I was perplexing up range to an 8 so that I could hit the Red Wolf from far away, and because he ignores the hindering, pop him off. Then like it was just like picking apart the pieces that made this problematic. So I picked off the Red Wolf, then I picked off the Sheriff Steve Rogers. Our Captain America's fought, and mine ended up winning the fight. I think I ended up losing Iron Goblin. No, I lost the Iron Man in all of the fighting, but it was down to his Regent versus my Captain America and Iron Goblin. Which, you know, this is an intense pick apart, get it, fight in the middle, blah, kind of like if you were to describe this, it would look like that scene in Dragon Ball Z where they're fighting. They go in the middle, they start punching each other, and just dash backwards. That kind of happened.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Region goes backwards. I go backwards. It's like, okay, I think I can get the region. He had killed my Iron Goblin, and there was some weird questioning about ruling, but he just took hypersonic from him anyway. Yeah, it was my Iron Goblin that I lost. But it was Captain America.
Because the trait, can he use those powers?
Yeah.
Is that the question? Okay.
That was the question. Like the trait are
that
these powers he can use on his dial? It was a smart question. But ultimately,
because he can only use those powers sometimes. So does he count as being able to use them? Yeah.
Yeah. On any click, so on and so forth. It's it's a weird situation. Like I said, he ended up going up with hypersonic, attempted to make an attack, missed, and then I chased him down, took advantage of the fact that he was a giant size and just started shooting. And Psychic Blast started to be allowed to work. It's like, yes, I can use Psychic Blast now after Steve Rogers started whittling down with his running shot pokes, and then ended up killing the region. But like when it was down to region, I looked up and Steve gives me a look like, and Tom gives me a look like, I'm like, why am I still playing? And I ended up just finishing the game anyway, but with the best record on the team.
That matters.
Because that's what mattered. And Devin, what happened between you and Tom? Like I didn't get the details from you guys myself.
So the matchup just isn't wonderful for the super rare Thanos and Viv Vision, because he runs across the map and he can't kill my Witch Queen.
Right.
I just masterminded off. He doesn't have any outwit, so he runs up a little bit. I could have running shotted out to single target pulse wave his Viv, but I was a little bit scared that I would be putting my Witch Queen way out of position by doing it, so I didn't. I just stayed back. Looking back on it, I think that was actually a mistake, because what I was worried about was that I would either not have a prob or not have mastermind fodder. But what ended up happening is that Tom runs across the map and hits my She-Hulk and takes her off prob anyway. So not having prob a turn before and being able to alpha strike instead just seems like it was probably a better option. But I decided not to do it. And he runs across the map, hits my She-Hulk for, 6? So she takes 4. It's pretty decent. I running shot pulse wave with Witch Queen and one shot his Viv. I try to hit his Thanos with everybody else and just miss everything because She-Hulk was down to a 9 attack and Molly needed a 9 because he has a 19 defense, and I just wasn't going to hit that. He finishes off my She-Hulk. I running shot single target pulse wave on his Thanos and needing a 6, and I miss. And I was like, okay, I don't have any movement powers now. That is very bad. On his turn, he punches Molly, and he deals quite a bit of damage, I'm pretty sure, but doesn't finish her off, I think.
Oh boy, so now she's close combat expert.
Yeah, exactly. On my turn, but what he doesn't realize is that I can perplex up my range with Witch Queen to single target pulse wave again the next turn. So that's what I do on my turn, and I hit this time for 4 damage. He finishes off my Molly on his turn and just starts sidestepping away so that I can't catch up to him easily. I follow him for a while. He sidesteps around, and I base him. He attacks me, needing like an 8 at this point because I think he was down to 10 attack and doesn't hit. I punch him the next turn for 4 damage, which finishes him off. I think I hit him with Molly at some point in there, which is why he was down so low, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, it was just his team really was not well designed to fight a Witch Queen. It just isn't a great matchup for him, for sure, because I can just not take damage with Witch Queen first, and Pulse Wave against somebody with Invincible and Power Cosmic is a pretty decent solution.
Yep, and in the middle there, obviously, Steve had lost his game, so that was it for me. Devin, your team goes into the finals.
Yes, we did.
The finals of Team Worlds.
And the finals was crazy. So the team that I was facing was a Red Wolf, a Sheriff Steve Rogers, and a Spider Queen.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. So we do a little bit of positioning. He doesn't want to like run halfway across the map. We were on Wakanda. He put us there. He doesn't want to run halfway across the map with Spider Queen and try to shoot stuff with like 20 defenses. So he just stays a little bit further back. I run out with Witch Queen. I single target Pulse Wave his Red Wolf and kill it in 1 hit.
Nice.
And then I move up everybody else except Molly, who's still way in the back, and I put some blocking so that it's impossible for Spider Queen to single target Pulse Wave my Witch Queen, and but it is definitely possible for him to single target Pulse Wave my She-Hulk. So that's what he does. He runs out, single target Pulse Waves my She-Hulk. His Sheriff Steve running shots and finishes her off. I running shot Pulse Wave on my turn, finish off his Sheriff Steve in one hit. He running shot Pulse Waves my Molly on his turn because it was impossible for him to get back across the map far enough to my Witch Queen. I made sure of that with some blocking from Clara again. That free blocking is really strong. Just being able to block a line of fire without having to take an action is very, very good. It was definitely a large part of the reason that my team was successful. Yeah, so he running shot Pulse Waves across the map, perplexing up his damage to Pulse Wave Molly, needing a 7, and he doesn't hit it. I, on my turn, perplex up my attack with Witch Queen, and I sidestep and then charge Flurry across the map, because you can't modify your stats with combat reflexes, so it's a 13 on an 18 to hit the first time, which will knock him straight to his stop click, and then I'll only need a 6 to deal a further 4 damage, which will put me in a very, very good position, especially because he's double tokened right now. So I do that, and I hit the first one, and then I miss the 6. And I lose my movement power. Clara runs across the map so that I have somebody to mastermind to. Molly sidesteps in a bit so that I can make attacks with her the next turn, theoretically. And poison. Witch Queen's down a click. On my turn, he clears, and then I had to clear as well. So he poisons again. Witch Queen's down another click off of her top powers. Not that it mattered that much because she was missing her her movement power anyway at that point. Yeah. I perplex up my attack with Witch Queen to try to knock him off the invincible and the stop click so that I can deal some damage and have he has lower defense because Molly was pretty much close enough to make an attack anyway, and I need 7 and I miss. And then that happens for a bunch more turns with both of us just missing things pretty much constantly. He hits and he kills Clara. I keep missing, needing 7s and 6s, and I keep missing, and he keeps attacking, and he deals some damage to Molly but doesn't finish her off, and I miss. And then eventually he finishes off Molly. I've hit him at this point with Molly and with Spider Queen, with Witch Queen, not with Spider Queen, not hitting Spider Queen with Spider Queen, down to his last click on Spider Queen. And it's just Spider Queen on her last click against Witch Queen. He attacks, he crit misses, and that's the end of the game. It was heartbreaking, honestly. Like, if he hadn't done that crit miss, he probably would have won the game. Obviously, I didn't have perfect luck either, but I didn't crit miss on last click on my tent pole. So I really can't complain. He definitely got a little screwed by the dice there. We were both using my set of dice for that, and I guess my dice decided they didn't like him very much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was just taking all your bad rolls away.
Yeah, I mean, we both rolled pretty... The start of the game, my dice were great, and we both rolled really well. And the end of the game, my dice were terrible, and we both rolled terribly. But I didn't crit miss, and he did, and that was the difference in the end. He played it really, really well. I don't think there was anything else he could have done. He got really, really close to beating me, but just the dice beat him for him there right at the end. Joe lost his game. I'm not sure what he was facing. And then we both paced back and forth past the table where Richard Lior, our last player, was playing. At the point that I was done my game, it was down to a common Iron Man and a common Captain America. A Sheriff Steve Rogers against a Regent. I don't know what was on the rest of the team. And on like my third trip pacing by, I see the Sheriff Steve Rogers getting taken off the table. And at that point, it's a common Iron Man against a pretty much full health Regent, as far as I could tell. And we knew that the game was over, so we were pretty quietly happy because we didn't want to let the people who were still playing know what the result would be based on who won, right? But as soon as last action is called, we just were super happy, and we won the tournament. So I can't say that my first Worlds was unsuccessful.
First trip to Worlds, first World Championship tournament he's in, he wins with a ragtag group of friends that he just made that day, and just went and ran the tables with everybody.
And really good polls.
Have you guys figured out or talked to it in any way, shape, or form about what you plan on making, or?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. We have one idea so far. I don't, but like it was made spur of the moment right after the games ended, so I don't know whether it's what we're going to stick with or whether WizKids will allow us to make that specifically or anything. So we don't really know the process of making a figure now. I'm not sure anybody it does because there are non-disclosure agreements and stuff like that.
A
So
select
nobody should
few
really.
know.
Yeah, people who have designed figures do, but other than that, so we'll see how that actually works and stuff. I'm looking forward to it, obviously.
Awesome. Big congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Oh man.
It felt kind of surreal for a little bit after that, for sure. It was like, oh my god, I actually won. Huh. This is interesting. I caught myself the next day saying, yeah, I don't really like Battle World Sealed. You know, I haven't done Super. No, wait, definitely can't say that. Nope, that's definitely not true.
I don't like Battle World Sealed. I got World Championship in it. Like,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
Terrible set. Just
Terrible set.
awful. Because, I went to a couple of sealed WKOs where I didn't pull well and I didn't do well, but then I also went to Worlds where I did pull very, very well.
Yeah. Oh man. I had a great old time. I like.
And then we were all starving and dehydrated and tired,
yeah.
and
I broke all of my own rules on the first day. I didn't have water with me. I didn't have snacks with me. Like all of this is this is the stuff I tell people on Metafix. I broke all my own rules. I was like, eventually, after everything was said and done, me and Amber went to Target to go grab water bottles and snacks for the next day. And oh geez, the next day is not as exciting as the Saturday for me. That's for sure.
We figured out that Canadians are better collectively than individually.
Absolutely,
that's what we decided.
We're better in teams and in packs than on our own. Oh my! I went 1-3. It's not even interesting. My first round was up against Sean Gladden. He was excited to meet me. He was also excited to beat me.
What was the team?
It was 2 Shredders, a Pip the Troll. What else? There was a Colossal
Peace Machine?
Carnage and a Peace Machine on the team. Yep. So that beat me up real good. I did manage to kill the Peace Machine and the Carnage. And I do this trick where, oh darn, you've killed my Overdrive. Meet my Brood team to carry me now. It still didn't work out for me so well. But Sean was a great player. He was a good sport and great old match. Second round, I apologize to my opponent. I forgot his name. He was playing a Unimind and a Lockjaw and a Groot. And I'm not going to lie, like his dice were hot and then completely the opposite all of a sudden. The first, I made like 4 or 5 attacks against him, and he has the combination of Shape Change, Battle Fury, and Super Sensitive. I was playing the team that I had got second place in the recent WKO with, so Shirtless Kirk, Lockjaw, an Overdrive, Sam Cap, and a Groot, along
Ironheart.
with an Ironheart. Yeah. So I get right up in his face with everything, and I'm basically attacking with Kirk to try to break through the initial defenses, but. He's super, like, because I'm getting rid of Shape Change from the symbiote that he has on the Unimind. He is super sensed off the first attack and the second attack, and then I called in a Wolverine. He super sensed off the first attack, Shape Changed off the fourth attack, and then like when he went to attack my Shirtless Kirk, he needed a 3. He could only miss on a 3. He needed a 4, and he rolled a 3. And since he didn't have any prob available with Line of Fire, or he chose super senses with his Unimind, it was like, oh god, okay. Kirk gets another chance. So I push my Kirk, I get some damage through, I used a free action again, I get a little bit more damage through, and I was able to charge exploit with my, like, things were looking bad for me initially, and then all of a sudden, Unimind is dead, and all of his stuff is out of the board. And I was able to kill it all with a Harley Quinn. He also had Floral Colossal on the team. He healed it like once or twice in the game, but I had managed to eventually deal with it. But like, this was just a swing of like good, bad dice. All right.
Yeah. Some real bad dice too.
Yeah.
Missing a 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I ended up like completely getting his entire team. Thank God. So I thought I had hope, and then third round I was up against PJ using Tom's team. Like.
Couldn't just run out and kill that green arrow?
Well, he not only did he just win map roll, he added this new situation for me where he's blocking a good portion of the map with an invisible jet now. So
and then the other side with some seals.
the other side's with some seals. Not only with some seals, but he used a puffin to take my. He stole my venom harness.
Nice.
Little bugger. So I had to try to get that back. That was a bit of a nightmare for me. And then a little bit of bad positioning on my part. He tanked my Groot with a Cyclops, and ended up like hitting a bunch of dudes and just spreading me all over the place. I was able to kill like almost all of the tokens with the Professor X call-in. So I got a brand new set of pilots, as it were. But I just couldn't capitalize on anything. I killed some stuff, but nothing of importance. And so I'm now 1-2. And okay, this is.
I guess we have to cover format now.
We'll talk about this in a second. I ended up conceding my 4th round because I knew full well with 2 losses, there's no way I was getting any kind of prizing, and I kind of wanted to go enjoy some other things. Ended up just doing a battle royale, I think, and that was about it for me. But how was your overall experience? Because I know we both had very quick days on this part of the day.
Yeah, so I was playing the team that I won the recent WKO against, the team that Jason was playing with, which was Witch Queen LeFay. Which it totally probably looked to a lot of people like I was playing that because I had pulled her and done well in Team Worlds, like Drake did at Canadian Nationals last year, where he pulled a man thing and and then ended up playing it in Constructed too. Yeah. But I had built this team quite in advance and just got lucky in pulling her in Sealed as well. So it was her, it was Groot, it was Lockjaw, it was Ironheart, and a Mjolnir, and some ID cards, and the Invisible Jet terrain. I really liked the team. It was basically just Witch Queen and a bunch of stuff that doesn't die, has prob and outwit, and can protect her mostly. Walking Woods are great for just sort of positioning in potential lines of fire to her. So my first round was against Pedro, which was a little unfortunate because you never like getting matched up against somebody you actually know and want to do well in the first round of a tournament. But he was playing the Dan Powell ROC Cup build, the Star of Lockjaw, Star Fox. He picked Harley's apartment. We placed our invisible jets to like block off like half the map. The stairs were blocked, but I have a Witch Queen, so I just don't really care that much unless I miss. We both moved up a bit. I pushed my Ironheart to move into a patch of hindering down below so that I would have a prob on future things, and because I knew that he didn't really have a way of killing her super easily, where she was positioned, it was impossible for him to call in a Wolverine and get Flurry, so it would have been only 1 attack, which is pretty easy for her to survive. So I just wasn't super concerned about that. He tries to triple target mind control on her and 2 Walking Woods with his Starro. He perplexes up his attack by 2, making his attack a 13, so he needs a 3 to hit the 1 Walking Wood, a 4 to hit the other Walking Wood, and a 5 to hit Ironheart, and he rolls a 3.
Oh, Jesus.
He did not pick prob on Lockjaw, unfortunately, because the roll was so low, he figured he wouldn't need it. But he did. So he just hits a Walking Wood. He's like, fine, I'll attack your other Walking Wood, I guess. It doesn't really do anything, but like, I'm not attacking anything else. I missed the shape change. He hits, he kills a Walking Wood, but it just didn't really matter. On my turn, I charge out with Witch Queen and flurry his Starro with 5 damage, needing 6s with 2 probs on it. So I was feeling pretty good about that. I hit both attacks, bring him down to his click right before his stop click, sidestepped back up onto the elevated on my side of the map. He tries to mind control a bunch of stuff with Starro on his next turn, but he only has a 10 attack that he can't modify because one of the things he needs to mind control at this point is Witch Queen, or he just kind of loses. And he doesn't hit it even with a prob. I had a prob against it as well. You've disappeared. Oh, there we go.
I turned it off. I turned it off. You didn't need to see
makes sense. Just making sure it wasn't another one of those things where it was lagging up. Yeah, so he misses that. I think he did a call-in of some kind, but I don't remember what it was. Anyway, it didn't do anything particularly relevant. I charged it on my next turn, and I just finished off his Starro. And at that point, he was like, yeah, this game's pretty over. So he just TKs his Star Fox up. He flurries on my Ironheart. I survive both times. I call out a Cyclops to... oh, yeah, sorry. In between this, he retaliated with Groot on my Witch Queen on the second turn. Misses her, which he expected because he needs a 9, I think, with what I picked. But then he goes to attack my Groot, needing only a 7, and he misses that as well. My Groot kills his Groot. I call out a Cyclops to knock Star Fox to his last click, doesn't roll a 6 on super senses. I retaliate with Groot, finish him off, and then the game was just over from there. It was just a lockjaw against my entire team. So he definitely got some real bad dice there. Felt kind of bad. Still, good game. He played it well, just, man, his dice did not like him. And it was fun to play him. I'd never met him or played him before, so it was nice to meet you, Pedro, if you're watching. Second round, I was up against a guy named Tim. Don't know his last name. He was playing a Overdrive, Sam Cat, Batgirl, and Mini Shredder, which was definitely an effective team. So I pick Harley's apartment, and I put the jet so it blocks stairs. And on his turn where he's running across the map, he's like, oh yeah, I have a Shadow Cat call in. Calls it in, gives phasing, runs across the map. I'm like, oh, yep, didn't notice that part.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I never would have thought of it. It was really cool tech. I'm sure it's not 100% original, but really, really interesting tech by him. And he uses the outwit into free charge, which, of course, that's what you do against Witch Queen. Gets rid of her mastermind, charges in, requires a 9, crits. First try. Didn't need to use a prop. So I take 5 damage because of the Empower from Mini Shredder. Yeah, which puts me down to my first energy shield click, which is not where I want to be. Sam Cap charges in and just kills me. And from there, the game's effectively over. Like, if Witch Queen dies on your first turn, you're not going to win. I did still kill most of his stuff. It was just, I killed his Mini Shredder once and got his Sam Cap down to click 3 and killed his Batgirl on the next turn with a Groot retaliation and some Walking Wood attacks. But it wasn't possible for me to win at that point, really. I got 104 points, so it was as good as I could expect after that start. But it was just my lockjaw against stuff for a really long time, and I dealt as much damage as I could, but it wasn't quite enough. My third round was against a guy from Italy. I don't know his name, who was also playing a Sam Cap team. It was a Shredder clone, Sam Cap, Alex Wilder, Overdrive, Surtur, Carnage. And maybe something else? No, I don't think so. I think that's it. Anyway, so he picks Prison 42 as the map, which is one of my favorite maps, just in general, not for this team specifically, but I really do enjoy that map. And I block off one of the little boxes near the starting areas, the other entrance to it with my plane, so he has to run all the way around through my starting area to get in if he wants to. And Witch Queen will have +1 defense for him shooting through the plane, and he'll have to shoot. So I felt pretty good about my defensive positioning. And he runs across the map, and he calls in a Harley Quinn, and he picks the energy explosion, and he running shots. He has an 8 attack on a 20 defense, and he crits. Didn't need to use a prob. So 2 games in a row, my Witch Queen got crit on the very first attack. I got dealt 3 damage, and I went down to my second click, which mattered a lot, because if he just hit, I can call out a Wolverine to get my powers back. But since he crits, 1 healing isn't enough. And it double tokens both my Lockjaw and my Witch Queen, so I can't even pick support with Lockjaw the next turn to heal her back up. Yeah, so I do as much as I can. I retaliate on Harley. I kill her off. I deal a little bit more damage. I run my Groot away so that hopefully it's a little harder to kill him afterwards. Sidestep into some hindering with Witch Queen to make it a little harder to hit her. He retaliates on my Groot, on one of my Walking Woods, I think, with his Surtur, because my Groot was positioned so that he couldn't retaliate on it, but still, unfortunately, couldn't get further than the 2 away that Surtur deals the penetrating damage, so died to that. His entire team runs into my little box that I've set up and deals a bunch of damage. I kill some things. I kill his Sam Cap eventually. I kill all of his Colossals. Eventually, it's down to my Lockjaw with 2 tokens against Alex, who I had killed, and then he killed back with a crit. He got a lot of crits, which he apologized for profusely, and I was like, it's just part of the game, man. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm not super happy about it, but you got a lot of crits, and that's how it works. Yeah, so it was down to my Lockjaw, 2 tokens left, his Shredder clone and his Alex. His Shredder clone flurries on me, needing 7s, misses the first attack, hits the second. Sorry, the turn before this, I had picked phasing to run away because I had the Harley Quinn kill, so I was ahead on points. So I picked phasing to run away, and I rolled a 6 with already having an action token. So I couldn't move. So I had to clear. He flurries on me with his Shredder clone, 11 attack on an 18 defense, needs 7, misses 1, hits the second. I'm down to 1 token. Alex sidesteps in, needs a 9 to hit, hits, and game's over. So that was my second loss, which meant I couldn't possibly win. And last action is called like a minute later. So if I get to run away, I don't think he can catch up to me in time to win the game. But just some really good rolls from him, and obviously also good play to kill off everything as well. I played my last round out anyway against another guy playing another Samcat build. I played against a lot of Samcat builds, and it's probably my team's worst matchup. So that was a little unfortunate for me on in that. Basically, what I was doing with my team is I was gambling that I would end up facing a Goblin King. Because if I faced a Goblin King with my other team, then I couldn't kill it. Whereas with Pulse Wave, you can definitely kill a Goblin King. But I didn't actually end up facing one. I just ended up facing a lot of Samcaps, which my other team is definitely better against. So I probably should have gone with it in hindsight. Yeah, and I won my last game. It was a really weird game where like he runs across the map and I kill his taxi and run across the map to kill his colossals, and his Kirk ends up wandering through the middle of the map for a while, and his Whiz-Kid dies to a Walking Wood. And it ended with my Lockjaw on 1 token killing the rest of his team. So that was the end of my Worlds 2 and 2. Definitely not making top cut with that. A lot of 3 and 1s didn't.
Yeah, something we got to talk about in a minute. First, overall look at the metagame. A couple things I observed, especially in the first round. I looked down and I saw a sea of red. Surtur and Carnage are back. Yep. Or they never left. I'm not sure which it is.
Shouldn't have left if they did.
Yeah. So they're still around, and be aware of these figures. Another thing to be aware of is that the Goblin King was not as prominent as people thought it would be. I think maybe
the people who played it did fairly well, but I don't think there were any in the top 16. So
yeah,
there were Unimines.
There was Unimines. Team of the tournament was the Super Friends.
Yes.
I have to find out more someday. Like, I want to, if you know who the guy is, send him to my inbox, send him to my email, themarriedwithclicks@gmail.com. I want to know the story behind this. I might even just pull him on to a show, live chat with him. I gotta know what happened and what I missed on this one.
Yeah.
Because at one point he had like a 15 giant reach in the game he was playing with. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so effectively it was 2 Green Lanterns and 2 Apache Chiefs, and he had such a high theme bonus that he couldn't miss map roll, so he picked Star Trek Underground, as far as I could tell, pretty much all the time, which gave him enough blocking that if he alternated barriers, it was really hard for his opponents to get to him. Eventually he had enough giant reach on his Apache Chiefs that they just quaked the entire map, and then he killed things.
That's amazing. I love the idea. Oh, he's my hero.
And he made top 8.
Like, that is so cool. I love that kind of innovation. And that innovation can only come in a wide open meta, which we're in right now. The variance was all over the place. Like, I don't have it physically. There was a lot of Samcap teams. There was a lot of people playing Tom's Gotham City team. There's still a lot of Unimind. Unimind is still a thing in the current metagame. There was the whale team that Tyler Spees won to great effect.
Did anyone else play that, or was it just Tyler?
I'm not 100% sure. I know Tyler did play it.
Yeah, for sure.
Shredders haven't left yet, guys. They're still out there. Be aware of that.
And there was one Witch Queen.
I'm
pretty sure there was exactly one. I'm pretty sure it was the
one
only one.
Weirdo, like, who was a third of the team world, just played a Witch Queen. I think he.
Who knows what that guy was thinking?
It was weird. So I do enjoy how wide open the meta is, and it's that whole thing where it's like, I feel like I can stop kind of following the trends and just start making a team, and I like that feeling. So
yeah, it's really interesting when you have a meta where everything that you sit down across is scary.
Yep. And
it's not all the same. Like, for a lot of metas, it's like, oh, this is terrifying, but it's one of the same 2 things every time.
Yeah.
In this meta, it's, oh, that's terrifying, and that's terrifying, and that's terrifying, and that's terrifying, and that's terrifying. There's like 8, at least.
Yeah. So I do enjoy that. Now, we have to talk about the organization of the tournament, and I wanted preface a couple things. The judges did a fantastic job with the resources they had. There's always going to be a call somebody doesn't like. It's going to raise a lot of questions. There was a couple calls that we even talked about in the Airbnb while playing Super Nintendo, where there was a very heated discussion about the movement of multi-base characters.
Yes, which we figured out is inconsistent depending on which square you choose to move from. So if you're playing Colossals, keep that in mind. Count out your squares and see if you can move farther if you choose a different one, because maybe it'll win you a game.
Yeah, it's something I've actually been aware of for a while, personally.
I was not.
Yeah. It came from my awareness of it from my monster team, because it's
that makes sense.
Colossals, right?
Especially on 100-point Carnage, which is a fairly central part of that team.
Absolutely. And now here's where things get challenging. Team Worlds felt good because the record was based on your team's record, and you had
everyone who went 8-4 made it in Team Worlds. Absolutely. There was a specific record where if you got that record, you were in. Yeah. If you got below that record, you were not.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing is, in Team Worlds, an 8-4 could be a 3-1, or it could be it could still also be a 4-0, which is really weird based on the fundamentals of how Team World wins work. Because if two of your team members win,
it could be a 2-2 too.
Win. It could also be a 2-2. That's correct.
Yeah.
So
as long as you swept the others and one of your teammates won in both losses.
Yeah. So that's why the Team Worlds, nobody complained about the outcome. Plus, there was 61 teams. So even though there was more players in Team Worlds, there was less teams and less individual units, as it were. So that kind of
so 4 rounds of Swiss felt fine for that. Yeah. There was a record that got you in, and I don't think anybody could reasonably complain about that.
Yeah. Where things get a little wacky is we get into the 4 rounds of Swiss, cut to top 16 at 114 players in singles. And this, obviously, anybody who knows anything about these tournaments, that is not an accurate portrayal of what we want going into the top 16. And that's been a sticking point of discussion right now. And I kind of want to address it. The first thing I want to address is the lack of knowledge a lot of us have on what's behind the scenes. Did WizKids say you can only run the big tournaments on Friday and Saturday? That would be problematic on WizKids' part. Were the judges only allotted to be volunteered for the Friday and Saturday? These are all I'm coming up with the possible reasons for this, because I feel like the most perfect way to run this would have been on Saturday, run the complete gamut of Swiss. Then on Sunday, your single elimination, right? And I think
or maybe they were just worried about travel for people coming.
Absolutely.
Also possible.
All of these are factors. When it comes down to it, travel should be intelligently managed by the people who are traveling to a certain degree. But then we have to have awareness of this, right? So, like, based on what we knew, WizKids was only running the tournaments on the Friday and the Saturday, so we knew we could travel on Sunday. If they would have posted that they were running tournaments on the Sunday, or tournament portions on the Sunday as well, we all would have been like, okay, I probably have to leave either the Sunday night or the Monday morning. And everybody would have addressed their vacation time based on that. Nobody likes to take the extra vacation time. I understand that, but that's neither here nor there. Ideally, with the number of people that qualified for Worlds entering into Sunday, the best situation would have been to do all the Swiss rounds to get the most accurate top 16 just on the Saturday. Then on the Sunday, you have 16, 8, 4, top 2, 4 rounds of a tournament to run.
Yeah. So, and that doesn't take that long.
No.
If you start at 10 a.m. like they were, you're done by 2 p.m., which is...
Let's be reasonable. It's going to head into 3.
Yeah, that's yeah. So what actually ended up happening on Saturday is we had 4 rounds of Swiss with 114 or 116 people, which ended up that there was 35. The 3-1s went down to position 35. Yeah. There was only prizing down to 32.
Yeah.
So you could not make the cut at 3-1, but you could also not even get ID cards at 3-1.
Yeah, which in a major tournament is an unacceptable kind of outcome. Now, again, when I say unacceptable, I'm not shouting at anybody. It's just, this is not the way a major tournament outcome should look. And it's it's hard not to get angry about this, as a lot of players have. If you go on the social media, there's a lot of player outcry about what the heck was this, right? And weather was a little off, and some people that just compacted some people's anger. Some people had to because all of a sudden, like, people are like, my travel arrangements were screwed up. This tournament was like run like this, and all of this starts to compact and just comes out as like anger vomit. And you got to be careful about that. You got to step back and kind of look at the entire situation as a whole. So, things we don't know. What did WizKids allot for time of tournament? Were they allowed to run, not allowed to run this, or did they only allot the volunteer time for X amount of time? Don't know this, right? Because when I came in on the Sunday, the judges were having a good old time battle royaling, and they deserve it. They deserve the time. They deserve to have some fun. They did a good job with the tools that they had to run the tournament. Now, I heard, can't confirm, that because Friday ran too long between Team Worlds and the Last Chance qualifier, WizKids actually got fined. Don't know. This is between PAX and WizKids. This is hearsay. This is neither here nor there. Can't say for sure. But they may have had to make a gut reaction, been like, we are only running X amount of rounds, and then we're running our finals, and then that's it, guys. Just that's it. So I feel like Sunday should just been this.
And the tournament on Saturday did feel more compact too. It felt like they were getting the pairings out more quickly. Yeah. On Friday, there was quite a bit of downtime between rounds most of the time.
And that comes down to pairings for double or for teams.
Yeah, it's much harder.
Doesn't have a computer system. Pairings for singles, just put in the points. You're good to go, guys. Just wins got you. Wins got you. Right? So
yeah. So it did end up that Saturday's tournament finished a lot earlier than Friday's tournament.
Yeah.
They finished at 8:30 or something, whereas we didn't finish until somewhere around 9:30 maybe.
So constructively, I feel like they should have stretched out the amount of gaming to Sunday. Now, 4 hours, like, we can all plan our travel time around an extra 4 hours in the day. Just take light nighttime flights, that kind of thing.
And Tom and Jay and Emily and I left at 4 p.m. anyway. So if there was games even if we had to stay for games until 2 p.m., it wouldn't have made any difference to our travel plans in particular.
Absolutely. So,
and we're reasonably far away.
Yeah. So I feel like we as players would have been able to adjust to that better if that knowledge was given beforehand. But here's the things we do have to take into account. This is the first time they're running it at PAX. So we don't know what timing allotment they have at PAX. The space allotment they had seemed a little all over the place. Like, battle royales were all the way over there, and tournaments were over here, and it was really weird because, like, when I signed up for a battle royale, I had no idea
we walked to some tables and then just stood there for a bit, and then somebody was like, "No, it's like way over here. Come on."
Like, I was like, Tom, Devin, where you guys? Come on, guys, come on! They're looking for you, and like they're looking at me like, where are you guys? Like, I didn't know we had to be all the way over here. What the hell? You have like 1,000 tables over there. Why are we over here? So these are the kinds of things. This is the growing pains of a new tournament. Now, the alternative that I also presented in conversation with some of, I think I mentioned it with you too, is they may need to switch venues for U.S. Nationals and Worlds, because Origins starts Wednesday, goes to Sunday. Like, that's a long time, and that gives you a lot of time to just get everything you need done for Worlds in that span. Like, that's a huge span of time. I feel like that would work muy bueno. That's just an alternative suggestion. The time of year just kind of screws up.
So. Yeah. The time of year of this one is less than ideal. For me specifically, I have exams on Wednesday already, yeah. So this was a large time investment for me. Obviously, it worked out pretty well for me, but I'm not 100% sure I would be able to go again next year. It depends on how my classes are going and what my exam schedule looks like.
Yeah, and now with Amber working, I don't know what kind of vacation time I'm going to have available, because I now have to meter kids' days off of school with things. So I don't know what my schedule looks like for next year for any tournaments for that matter. So I do have to be aware of that, though I do enter a time where I get a little bit more time off. It is what it is. Yeah, so there's growing pains. There's a lot of growing pains with the new convention, and even though they've done this before in other conventions, it's hard to be like, for me, I guess maybe I'm way too reasonable a person, but I can't be angry yet that the first time they run out of packs there was some growing pains. There's a whole new team behind things. It's a whole new system of things, and it was a little rough going for sure. Commending the guys that it was mostly all right. It was really just as the number of rounds that we had available to us on the Saturday was brutal, and the Sunday kind of needed to fix things. I don't know. Devin, what are your thoughts? I've yammered on at length.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that it was perfectly fine for Team Worlds. Singles Worlds was obviously less ideal. There were some really, really good players who didn't make the cut. Some of them obviously because they didn't win or had to drop or something, but some, like Kenji, for example, won 3 games. He just had really low points, so he couldn't possibly make it, and that sucks.
Yeah, it's.
But like, hopefully it'll be better in the future. I think that they will hear the feedback and be able to make decisions based on it. So
I'm hoping that like it all comes down to just reorganizing how they plan on running the tournament.
Yeah.
So we're going to move into the question portion of the show. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about the tournament before we get moving to that. All right. Before we do that, of course, I want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/manwithclicks. If you want to become a patron, check that out. This Sunday will be our patron hangout for patrons who are watching right now. It will be this Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As well, we're going to be having a big announcement for our $5 patrons come tomorrow when I can get Amber next to me to make this announcement. It's going to be a quick live announcement. We're changing some things about the channel. As a result, the $5 patron will have to change what it is. And it's going to be cool. You guys are going to like it, I hope. Or it's going to be the stupidest thing and everybody's going to drop out of it. We'll see what happens. But check this out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. All right, move to the Facebook machine. So right now I'm going to apologize. My phone is out of battery, so I have to use my computer to actually check the Facebook, and as a result, you might hear some pinging because people will be messaging me. So that sucks. All right, but first in, Aaron Young. Can we get a shout out for the Everyman tournament on December 9th at Untapped Games in Pawtucket, Rhode? Pawtucket's a real place? I thought that was a joke in Family Guy. All right, well, in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, for those of you familiar, the Everyman format will be running. This is December 9th at Untapped Games.
So it's common, uncommon, rare is how that works?
Nope. Just commons and fast forces and starters.
Cool.
So just white tabs on bases.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
So and every Wednesday, take a little bit of time and talk about the format, how it looks like it could evolve, and talk about tournaments that have been run with it. So that's kind of been a lot of fun. Check that out. I was approached by a player who has been running it as well, and so I want to see results for those. If you guys do run that tournament format at marriedwithclicks@gmail.com, just to kind of keep it. I want to keep it free flowing and going. There is another Pauper format that has kind of showed its way up, and they're kind of running a whole circuit on it, and I commend them. One of the beauties of HeroClix is because of its wide openness, you can kind of create any format and kind of roll with it. So if you want to push that format, go for it.
Yeah, formats like this and like ROC Age and stuff, it's cool that we can make stuff that's not an official format and have it be interesting and competitive still because of the variety that's in the game.
Yeah, it takes so much less work than like Magic has to do for it. Because the other thing is Magic has reprintings. So like if something was printed in rare one day, but then another set it becomes common, guess what? That's Pauper legal. It's like, oh, that's hard. All right, but next up, Matt Thomas. What's everyone's opinion on the winning team from this weekend? Can it be improved upon? What kind of variations would you make if playing it? I did make a variation on this team, but instead of 2 whales, I had a 100-point Carnage. In place of Mini Shredder, I had Goblin King and 2 for Dr. Frankensteins. But I still had a Surtur and 2 Groots. Like it was It was that whole. It was a monster theme team. It was a lot of colossals, a lot of colossal retaliation was the idea. I just kind of focused on getting Prob and Perplex in my version, where he focused on like damage that doesn't need dice rolls myself. What about you, Devin?
I have looked at this team a lot, obviously, because it won, and I really didn't understand it until I watched it playing. Because when I just heard about it initially, it was described as the whale team, right? And I was like, oh, there's a bunch of whales, which isn't really what the team is. It has whales on it, but the team is not predicated on the success of the whales. The whales are not the ones doing damage. If they die, great, now I get to retaliate. So that's something that I didn't initially realize, and looking at it now, knowing that, it seems much, much stronger. You have so many colossals that it's really hard to run across the map and kill them. That's only going to become harder when Samcap retires. And I think the team is really, really strong. I don't know that I would make any changes. It has really good colossals on it. The mini shredder is a great choice as something to bring around. And theoretically makes the whales do more damage with empower and stuff. Like, no, it's just it's a very strong team. Very hard to kill anything without dying.
Yeah. All right, next up, Colin Bell. What was the most out there team you saw? The Super Friends team.
Super Friends.
Super Friends, right there. Just, boom, right there. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, this guy's coming up with some weird ideas.
Yeah, that team was super weird. I don't think anybody could have predicted that would be there, let alone be in top 8 before the tournament started. That was really cool.
It was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it heavily depended on the map partially to make it so that there was enough blocking that you couldn't just shoot through it with a Cyclops. But like you have such high theme that it's really hard to not win map. And yeah, no, it was a really cool team.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Michael Fedor, the Alpha and Omega patron, as we call him. He's been our first patron from the get-go. So, must the metagame always be ignoring the unwritten Highlander rule? How many teams out there are like this with multiple similar pieces on the team that wasn't reported? Can you guess? Well, okay. Highlander rule it's not an unwritten rule. It's not a rule in any way, shape, or form unless you go to a tournament that says, hey, you're only allowed to use one copy of everything. The only version of a Highlander rule in the rules is unique and prime. Those two rules wouldn't exist if Highlander was a thing. So, and the reason those types of characters are only allowed in those forms is because of the idea of having two of those. Like, imagine having more than one of those old Bizarros. Remember Bizarro with the token? Or imagine having more than one Alex Wilder. Like, forget it. Keeping track
or more than one something like, Infinity. You're running 3 of them and your opponent just can't move.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that if you could run more than one of them would just be ridiculously game breaking.
So those things are okay. And when it comes down to it, like the meta game or the competitive game is about it. Like the game of HeroClix is about comic book characters, and when we're not at these major competitive, like here's this mystical divide again. Competitive players only play competitive. Some do, yes, okay. Like Emily is not really a casual player. She doesn't even read comic books. She just understands HeroClix. That's cool. Emily's allowed to do that. Meanwhile, I'm over
here. The game
here.
first.
Yeah, it was a game about comic books. It's it's a game, right? Play how you want.
It has some stuff that isn't comic books in it, even like.
Yeah,
you don't have to enjoy any. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to enjoy any specific type of media to like the game.
Yeah. So then this comes down to, what happens with competitive players when they're not playing competitively. Well, some of us like to play stupid things. And sometimes I do kind of, as a person, just say, hey, I'm just going to play one of each thing because I want to try all kinds of neat stuff. Do you know what I do notice in the long term is that the best sealed players are the casual players because they play with everything. Like
practiced with combinations of powers that you don't necessarily have in constructed teams because they're not that strong, practiced with not having perfect numbers of probability control and outwit and perplex on your teams, practiced with positioning with things that don't have incredible defenses that are impossible to penetrate.
Yeah. The Highlander rule is generally for a casual tournament because people want to see your creativity in relation to comic books. That's fine. Do that. But in reality, the game rules themselves have to take over when it comes to competitive play. And if two of a Wolverine makes sense, two of a Wolverine makes sense. I'm sorry, it's just that's how we're gonna play. And in the world of comics, I mean, multiverses exist.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's not act like it's impossible for two Wolverines to be on the page of the same comic. There's an entire comic called Spider-Verse, which is just a bunch of alternate reality Spider-Mans.
We
You
got a
can't say
movie of that
it
coming
doesn't
out.
make sense based on comics to have more than one of the same character.
Yeah.
It does. It may be less common, but it absolutely happens in comics.
Yeah.
So I like Highlander sometimes. I think it sometimes provides more interesting team building, and I'm totally okay with it as a rule set for a lot of casual tournaments. I wouldn't even like it in every casual tournament. I don't generally play more than one of the same figure or character, but I did play a 1,000 point team of all Emma Frosts.
That's amazing.
It was terrible. It was an awful team, but it was a lot of fun. And if every tournament had a Highlander, I couldn't have done that. And it's not like that was a team that I played specifically because it was incredibly strong to have more than one Emma. Most of those Emmas sucked. I just noticed that I had 1,000 points of Emma Frost.
Oh man, that's a weird thing to come across. Like, hey, look, I got 1,000 points. I think I might have about 500 points of Sheriff Steve Rogers.
I do own every Emma Frost ever made. So,
all right. And as far as teams that were playing multiples of the same figure, if they were, it was mostly in the realm of like lower point Colossals or Wolverines, I think.
Cyclops Collins.
And Cyclops Collins, yeah. Like anytime they can get ID cards into it. I did see a couple teams with multiple Groots. I saw a couple teams with multiple Carnages.
Multiple Whales was probably the only thing other than Wolverine on that was more than 20 points on a main force. There were multiple of, I think.
Oh, well, I mean, and yeah, because I think even the Super Friends were playing the guys at like 30 points or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, you had not the Apache Chiefs probably. I don't know. I don't know the team list actually, but I know that the Green Lanterns were because they were using Barrier and they only start with Barrier at their lower point value.
Yeah. So, some teams do, some teams don't. It's all a matter of what makes sense for the team. So don't. It's hard. Sometimes when you sit back if you sit in one area, it's hard not to get up in arms about this kind of thing. Where if I happen to own 2 Green Lanterns and I want to keep 2 Green Lanterns myself, and then I want to acquire like a second Firestorm at one point, and I know that is raising the value of the figure at a certain degree because like look at Wolverine. Wolverine sits at like $70-$80. He's a super rare. It's not a chase. And that's because people aren't just getting one, they're getting multiples. Certain figures this is going to have an effect on. Other figures, not so much. I think if you're going to see the biggest effect on it, it's going to be the Colossals and Mighty Thor with the Surters and the Carnages because people are buying those in multiples and there is no Mighty Thor to be bought. So.
Yeah, that set ran out really quickly. I didn't even end up getting a brick of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was between a new rule set being introduced in the set and then a Super Booster set. Super Booster sets disappear. Like they're just gone. Like yeah. So that is those are all factors in it. I mean, there might be some sitting in a distributor where one guy's going thinking he's going to make $1 million off it, but he's going to find out very quickly. HeroClix don't last long in value, except for Frog Thor. That guy will not drop in value.
Still want him?
No, I don't. I don't want a Throg. All right, next up, Tyler Murray. Hey, gents, how's PAX? It was good. Good old time. Looking back, are there any tweaks you think you'd make to the version of the team you ran, and do you think you might have given you a better result? How about dem whales? All right, first thing, I would probably, if I was to go back in time and be like, I need to change my team, I would completely take my team aside and be like, this was fun for a weekend. I played Shirtless Kirk, cool. It is time to go back to my monsters because I think my monsters are my king team right now. They're my strong go-getters personally on a personal level. But the team I played, I was happy. I mean, okay, sorry. I would have remembered my Chamber character cards so that I had Chamber on my sideline, but it wouldn't have made a difference on any of the games I played. So, yeah. That's my call. I don't know. Devin, would you tweak your team or?
So, if I was playing Witch Queen Lefay, that is the version of Witch Queen Lefay that I would play. All of the maps I was happy with, all of the objects I was happy with, all of the characters I was happy with. I don't think there's anything I can switch out reasonably. Groot is absolutely the best Colossal to play on that team because he can potentially leadership her after she picks up Mjolnir so that you can do more stuff on the next turn. Witch Queen Lefay is not strong against Samcap, and there were a lot of Samcaps there. So, especially ones that were running Batgirl, like my second round matchup, that completely is not something that Witch Queen has fun facing. So, I might not have played her. I probably still would have, just because I had a lot of fun with it. I think she's a really fun piece to play. But she definitely was not as strong as I thought she might be when I didn't realize how many Sam Caps there would be at the event. I mean, I probably should have known that there would be a ton of Sam Caps at the event. Like, there have been a ton of Sam Caps at everything for a very long time now. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the team still. So I don't think I would play something different, but I maybe should have.
All right. Next up, Tyler Spees, our world champion, ladies and gentlemen. The man who rode the whales of the victory. Question, is it confirmed that Perplex, Prob, and Outwit are overrated now? I'm going to take a second here. How many attacks in a single turn were you capable of making? And how do you not see that as probability control? Sometimes Prob is not Prob. Sometimes Flurry is not Flurry. But Prob and Flurry are still Prob and Flurry. And I think Flurry is kind of like Prob. Think about it.
Good point. Especially if it doesn't mean that you have lower stats to compensate, like Witch Queen. Turns out that ranged Flurry is a very strong power combination.
Oh, God. Damn. So.
That's why I'm playing Witch Queen.
But, Tyler, congratulations on your success. Good job on your team. And I am impressed that without Perplex, Prob, and Outwit, you were able to do what you did.
Surtur also helps a lot with that.
Yeah. Oh, Surtur helps so much with that. Like I attack with a 12 attack. You don't have
and
defenses.
You get no defense powers. Yeah, but no, I really like the team, and congratulations on winning with it.
Yeah, gonna have to get him on Champ Chat soon. Consider yourself on notice, Tyler. All right, Chris, Mr. Chris, I gotta put a stamp on it. I didn't see your question earlier. Oh my God, it's official. Chris Talkhouse has a question. Put a stamp on it. Had a blast this weekend and really enjoyed seeing everybody. Big congrats to Devin Owens and Jay for putting together that team. And Team Saurier rocked it in teams too. Great showing from Canada. And I was listening in on Tom's last match with Steve. And man, it stinks when the damn Unimind hits a shape change. You guys rock. Need to get up here and see you guys soon or meet halfway in Michigan again. Fair point. There was no question in there. Andrew Fairweather wants to know who put the bop in the bop to bop. I think it was John Travolta. All right.
Yeah, we are planning on coming down, at least Jay and Emily and I, for some Michigan events in the new year.
Don't count me in necessarily.
We'll let you know when we're going, at least.
You silly people can book Fridays off, and I have to be like, we leave at 6?
Well, I'm in school, so
yeah.
I can maybe not have any classes on Fridays.
All right. Next up, hi to all the people who said hi. We're in the chat now, so if you're in the chat live, put in big capital letters question in front of your question so I can catch it, because it is a little difficult to catch questions. Like Mr. Hubcam210 says, any recommendations for someone getting back into HeroClix? Even though when I played in the past, I wasn't very good, but enjoyed playing my favorite figures. Keep doing that. Eventually, you'll start enjoying yourselves and just get right back into the flow of things. If you're not a competitive man, don't be competitive. Just play the game.
Also, it took me a long time to be good, honestly. I started playing again. I played when I was little and didn't play with the right rules and stuff. But I started playing again in like 2014, late 2014. And I wasn't in Toronto at the time. I was in Waterloo, and I played at a venue with a couple of guys there, which was a lot of fun. But I sucked. Half the games I felt like I was moving pieces around randomly. So there's always the chance to improve. Like, if you're playing, you'll get better.
All right. Next up, Ben Jellison. What team won PAX? 2 whales, 2 carnages. It was 2 whales, 2 carnages, 2 Groots.
2 Groots.
A Surtur, and a mini shredder.
And a mini shredder.
We actually posted it on our Facebook. There were some ID cards as well.
Yeah, I don't think there was any terrain, but I'm not 100%
no
sure.
Special terrain.
Pretty sure there wasn't.
There were also some trouble alerts.
Yes, because if you haven't filled your sideline, put trouble alerts on it. That's just how the game works now. So.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing Witch Queen, and if you miss, you probably lose the game. Might as well still. Why not?
It's funny, actually, in the Discord, Nathaniel turned around and said, "When you were little and this game came out, Devin, I was 18 or 19 when this game released. The first time I played this game, I had a beer in my hand, legally."
Yes, I am 21, 22 next week, so I was a small child when the game released.
Yeah. Jay Solomon. He wants to know, when will Jay stop trashing Witch Queen? I think this was directed to you, Devin.
Yeah, so when I built my Witch Queen team, Jay was like, "The team is trash. Don't play it at Worlds. Definitely. Probably don't even play it at the WKO." And I was like, I mean, I don't actually think it's very good at the time. I do think it's much better now than I did at the time, but I just really wanted to play Witch Queen because I thought it'd be a lot of fun. So I played it at the WKO, and I won the WKO against some very, very good players. And I was like, maybe Witch Queen is significantly better than I thought it was. And while I was playing the finals against Jason, I turned to Jay and I was like, "Do you still think my team's trash?" So
I remember that.
So we'll see whether Jay ever stops completely trashing it. But I think he realizes now that it's better than he first thought.
There we go. All right. Next up, and we're in the Discord now, our patron Discord. So unless you're a patron, questions are all cut off. Nathaniel wants to know, Alfredo Sanchez, creepy or creepiest player you met at PAX this year? Actually, he was one of the more charming players I met this year. He was a treat to meet, and we took a great picture together. So not that bad a guy. I don't know what your problem is, Nathaniel. He wants to know what stream, obviously referring to the fact that I mentioned that my game in the second round would be terrible to watch on the stream. I'm going to level this one to everybody. The stream is not operated by WizKids. They just kind of arrange it. And whoever was operating the stream at US Nationals, obviously not the ones not available for Worlds. So with that said, we kind of have to look at it and go, well, if that didn't happen, then they couldn't arrange it. They couldn't get it done. Sorry, guys.
It's too bad. But
yeah, it's too bad. But I could just I don't know who they would have had, who they would have be operating it and everything like that. So that there's a lot of logistics on that just didn't get picked up. So and we have a combination question where Michael Fader wants to know, or he says he's surprised they let me back into the country. And then Nathaniel asks, which country, the U.S. or Canada, should we have called ice? We brought the ice, son. And left the snow in upstate New York. All right. Nathaniel does go on to ask, who put the dip in the dippity dip? And, you know, I'm not going to continue to go down this rabbit hole because I've been down enough rabbit holes with some things recently. Anyway. That's about all we have for today. Worlds was fun. My voice sounded like this the entire time, too.
Yeah.
I think I picked up a nasty case of the throat version of the PAX box. So.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm feeling mostly healthy, but my voice still isn't 100% either.
Yeah, so.
It's quite a couple days.
Big halls, you just have to yell constantly. So many people talking to me is like, you're going to have to speak up, man. I can't hear you. It's like, this is how it feels, how close I am. It's like, no, I can't hear you still, man. So, Devin, thank you very much for joining me. And as well, congratulations on being 1/3 of the Team World, 33% of a world champion.
Thank you.
That is the exchange rate as it is as a Canadian. So, I mean, we're used to that. We're used to that kind of valuation. Look forward to next year's competitive play. Worlds was a blast, in spite of the obvious issues. I mean, even with those obvious issues, I was 1-3 I ended up 1-3. So I got nothing to complain about.
Yeah,
I sucked.
none of the Canadians had any reason to specifically complain about the number of rounds because we weren't making it in no matter how many rounds they had.
So we had a bit of a rough go.
Yeah.
But I want to.
At least we did really well in teams to make up for it a bit. So
I do want to take a quick second to say thank you everybody who did greet us, and thank you everybody for not trying to talk to me in the middle of a game. I really do appreciate that. Because that was one of my frustrations in the early days of the channel. People talking to me in the middle of the game like, dude, I'm playing. I can't do this right now. I love you, but can we talk later? Cool, awesome. So I'm done with that. Great. And battle royales bother me all you want. I don't care. But it was a great time meeting all the newer players who I hadn't had a chance to meet in the past. It was a blast meeting all kinds of excited people. It's always great to play HeroClix. It's always fun to play HeroClix, and I can't get enough of these events. So thank you everybody who was involved with organizing this, and thank you everybody who talked to us in the wild, as it were. And I really hope that WizKids can take a chance to learn from their experience this year and do a little bit better next year, just to kind of alleviate some of what were obviously issues that a lot of players had with the tournament overall.
Yeah, thanks to everybody I met as well. I met a lot of cool people and had a lot of fun at the tournament and played some great games.
Yeah.
Hope to see everyone next year as well. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. In the meantime, I want to take a second to thank all of our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders premium portion of their website. $3 a month gets you access to brain dumps from some really good players. Hopefully Tyler Spees is one of the brains who will add some of the value. Daniel Powell is a regular contributor, as well as our own Jay Solomon. I occasionally add some silliness to the articles. Tom is a contributor in the past, usually because he wins.
Wrote a great Canada Cup report.
He did a fantastic
job. Everyone should read.
Yep. And, check it out. They support us. We support them. It's a good old symbiotic relationship. Also, of course, if you want to support us directly, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Guys, it was a big old blast. It was a good old time. And you know what? You're never not building your teams. You're never not getting ready for the next big thing. And you should never not be practicing, because practice will make your team better. Have a good night, everybody.